Hello everyone, welcome to Keen Ears. So this is the first collection update video in a good little while. I actually spent a fairly long spell without getting my hands on any vinyl whatsoever. I didn't actually plan on doing that, it just sort of happened really. But I've got a little backlog of stuff to show for this video. But I'm not going to be starting with any vinyl, I'm going to be starting with 4 CDs, all by Prince. First of which is this. This is The Vault, Old Friends for Sale. And this is his final contract obligation album, I believe, for Warner Brothers from 1999. And as contract obligation albums go, this is actually a pretty damn good album. I quite like this quite a bit. It's got some good stuff on it. I don't think it's a brilliant album or anything like that, but it's definitely got some good quality stuff on it. It just goes to show that even Prince, when he was kind of obligated and not really, didn't promote this album that much. I believe it didn't do particularly great, in the charts and that kind of thing compared to his other albums. But he still put out, good quality. He's still arguably putting out better stuff than other people's, main stuff. And this is just his leftover reserve stuff, I guess. And it's pretty damn good. And as you can see, Prince is not too happy on the back there. And this is kind of, he definitely didn't hide his emotions towards, Warner Brothers at this point. He's pretty much on a downer with them, but onwards and upwards, I guess. With the year 2000, he was free to kind of just do what he wanted, really, and largely he just kind of, I get the feeling he kind of just did what he wanted anyway, even when he was under Warner Brothers. But anyway, yeah, it's a pretty decent album. There was a time when this was actually quite difficult to get your hands on. A few years back, I tried to pick her up, and it wasn't like completely unavailable or anything like that, but it was fairly expensive for a CD. I remember seeing secondhand CDs on eBay going for a little bit more than you kind of expect. But I got this on eBay for about $5.99, brand new and sealed. I don't know if it's new old stock or whatever, but yeah, I'm very happy to finally add it to the collection. And yet another step closer to a complete Prince collection. I think I may end up with, you might see me one day with big piles of CDs stacked up everywhere, and that'll be the point when I've actually got every single Prince CD, because that's how many he's got. You could fill this room, you could probably fill a warehouse, quite honestly, with the amount of albums he has. But, we'll get there one day. The next album I'm going to be showing is this. This is MPG, New Power Soul. I believe this is the third and final album under the MPG name, which is Prince's band, effectively, the band that Prince used, what he called his band effectively after, I believe it was the Revolution. The Revolution, his most famous band, the Purple Rain era and all that, and then he replaced them with the MPG. I believe that's the case anyway. And this album came out, I believe, 1998. I'm looking at the back here just to make sure. Yeah, 1998, and I believe the other two MPG albums are pretty much unobtainable. They're you can't get your hands on them for unless you're extremely lucky, because they're they were never officially released in at retailers. They were only available through mail order and special events and that kind of thing, and you essentially can't get them. The prime candidates really for to be reissued, and I'd imagine they will one day be reissued, by Prince's estate, record store days and that kind of thing. But this is the third and final one. This did get an official release, and I picked this up for a couple of pounds on eBay. Literally, it's like £2 or something like that, including delivery. So yeah, happy to add it. Fairly good shape, and it's a pretty good Prince album. It's not a remarkable album, and I do say Prince album because most fans agree that this is effectively a Prince album, really. And if you were to put this album on and listen to it, not really know anything about it, random or anything like that, it's kind of, you would say, oh, it's just it's a Prince album from the late late 1990s, because that's what it effectively sounds like. It doesn't sound like anything too drastically different to what he was putting out on, as a Prince album. Although this technically, if you look on Prince's discography, this isn't on there, even though it kind of is. So yeah, it's a bit confusing, really. And when it comes to making some sort of ranking video, I guess, in the future, which I'm planning on doing for Prince's albums, when I finally do get hold of at least the majority of them, the vast majority of them, I probably will be including this, because it is a Prince album, really. It truly is, and it's pretty good. It's a like a very 90s funk album, effectively. And yeah, pretty solid. Nothing remarkable or anything like that, but pretty solid. So that's our album. And the next one is probably Prince's most notorious albums. I managed to finally pick up a copy of the Black Album, and it's just a quick overview of the story of this. Most people are probably aware of it, but this album was due to be released in 1987. Then Prince pulled the plug on it for various, unknown reasons. I guess there's loads of conspiracy theories as to why he did it. People saying that he did it for publicity and that kind of thing. I guess now with Prince being, no longer with us, maybe he took some of his secrets with him, onto the into his death, unfortunately. But it's a strange album. It came out officially anyway in 1994. This is the legendary, what does it say? The legendary Black Album limited edition. Came out. It was only available for a certain period of time. Although with it being a limited edition, they did produce millions of these things. This isn't rare or anything like that, but they produced quite a lot of cassette and a couple of vinyl versions. I believe there's out there, official ones. And as it got, pulled at the last minute back in 1987, it became one of the most bootlegged albums of all time. There's tons and tons and tons of bootlegs out there, all various quality. Some are good quality, some are terrible quality. But this is the at this point in time, this is the only official release that this album has ever had back in 1994. It hasn't been reissued, as far as I'm aware, officially since then. So yeah, this is probably a prime candidate. This is probably the number one candidate for a new release. It probably will happen one day. I'd imagine the Prince estate will reissue this, a record store day or something like that. It's probably going to happen one day. I'd be amazed if it doesn't, quite honestly, because this is like this is well overdue. This is coming up to 30 years of it being pretty much unobtainable officially. Like, maybe it's on Spotify and that kind of thing, but in terms of a physical release, it's kind of a tricky one to track down, and it was quite expensive even on eBay to find an old CD copy. I did manage to find this actually on eBay for not a lot of money. It was like a $5 or something like that, and it was brand new and sealed. I think it was probably new old stock. The case is a little bit broken. I'm not sure if that happened in transit or it happened when it was being stored or whatever, but I didn't pay too much for it, so I'm not too upset, quite honestly. It was a bit of a bargain. It wasn't very well listed and that kind of thing, so the description and everything, so kind of pull up with that. But yeah, it was nice to kind of get my hands on it, and it was a pretty good album as well. It's a strange album. I kind of see maybe why Prince decided not to put it out and that kind of thing. A pretty weird album, really, and it's kind of coincidental as well. It came out in the mid-90s, because in a way it feels, even though it has quite it has very sort of 80s production to it, it does have this kind of 90s Prince album feel. The attitude, I guess, that Prince had. This kind of quite dark and quite quite explicit feel. It has definitely. If it would have been released in the 80s officially, anyway, it probably would have been his darkest, dirtiest kind of album, really. So it's quite raw and quite explicit, and it definitely ends at a parental advisory warning thing. But anyway, that good, happy to finally add that anyway. And it's not a bootleg either. That the CD they've got is official, I believe. I've looked her up, and there's nothing to indicate there is a bootleg. So yeah, managed to get my hands on a fairly decent little bargain there, I think. So we'll move on to the final Prince album I'm going to be sharing, and this is 2020. 2010, sorry, not 2020. Released in 2010, hence the title. So it's another album named after a year, after 1999, I suppose. And this was a freebie that came with newspapers at the time. I believe in the UK it came with the Daily Mail, and in other countries around Europe, Spanish papers and Italian papers and that kind of thing. It was one of the things that Prince did at the time. There's another album that Prince put out which had a similar release called, I believe it was Planet Earth. And it was available in newspapers, and it was available in events. If you went to see Prince at certain gigs, you'd find this on your seat or whatever, or be given away and that kind of thing, or whatever. So yeah, it was a bit of an unusual release back. That's why it's in this cardboard sleeve. And I've heard from the fans, and most people are into Prince, that this is regarded as his worst album and as one of his worst albums anyway, and that kind of thing. And so I had very low expectations when I picked this up. I listened to it and actually kind of enjoyed it. I've only listened to it one and a little, I listened to it through and then I played a few extra tracks. I haven't listened to it twice effectively all the way through. And yeah, I kind of enjoyed it really. I was surprised. I guess I had low expectations. And yeah, I think it's actually pretty good at this point. So yeah, I need to give it more time. Maybe my opinion of it might change over the future listens of this album. But yeah, so far so good really. I picked this up on eBay. It was like £3, and yeah, it's pretty much mint condition. So probably never been played, quite honestly. So that's that album. The final Prince album, 2010. And we'll move on now. We'll move on now to a book. I don't often show that many books, and this one's a massive one. I won't be showing it very long because it's very heavy and it's going to break my arms if I hold it for too long. But finally got my hands on the McCartney, the lyrics book, or books should I say, because it's actually two. And yeah, I got this recently. I haven't read any of it yet. I'm due to give her a read. But yeah, it looks really good. There's more photographs in it than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be mostly a text-based book, there being a memoir. Yeah, there's actually quite a number of photographs in it. I was surprised. I guess that's why it's in two books, really, because I guess he wanted to include photographs, because with Linda and everything, taking tons of photographs, I guess. There's maybe loads in reserve and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to giving this a read. And yeah, it just looks really nice, really nice. It's the little thing that came on the back, on the shrink wrap. Yeah, it looks like a really nice package and real treat for the fans. So yeah, I really enjoyed the last Paul McCartney book that I read. It wasn't written by Paul McCartney, but it was like an interview based book, and I really enjoyed that. It was conversations with McCartney. So yeah, hopefully I enjoyed this one as much. Yeah, it's got the one of his album covers, more recent album covers. It's got that cover on it, which I haven't got my hands on yet. I'm still in the process of getting McCartney albums and George Harrison albums and that kind of thing. Getting closer to getting the complete. Prince and Paul McCartney and George Harrison are really the collections that I really want to boost up for to get closer to a complete collection at one point. So we'll move on now to the final few things. It's a couple of records I'm going to be showing. First one's by Al Green. This is an album called I'm Still in Love with You, and it's from 1972, I believe. And when I saw this, it was in a record shop, and I thought it was a modern day reissue, because I don't know if you noticed, but it's in the shrink wrap. I thought, it's just a modern reissue of this. It was actually an original in really amazing condition. It's like me and mint, I suppose. Comes with the original inner sleeve, and the record itself. We're pouring this one from the sleeve. It's on the high label, and it's an American 1972 original in amazing condition. For a 50-year-old record, really nice. Sounds fantastic as well. Really great pressing quality. Surprisingly good, actually. American pressings back in the day, don't have the greatest reputation, but they did produce some good stuff now and again. And that's a lovely record, lovely production, lovely sound and everything. And yeah, still in shrink. I guess UK records back in '72 wouldn't have had shrink wrap on them. They didn't start shrinking records, the UK market at this point. So yeah, what kind of singles now, I guess, is a bit of an American press. Yeah, really happy with that. Lovely record. And yeah, played it a few times. Need more time with it, but I'm still looking for an Al Green album called, which I was actually looking for when I found that. It's an album called Let's Stay Together. One of his earlier albums with his big hit on it. And yeah, I'd really love a copy of that, but so far I haven't found one. Anyway, we'll move on to the final album I'm going to be showing, and it's a Bowie record, Young Americans. Now, I've already got this album out for my copy here. This is my original copy. I got this as a present for somebody, really, and I believe this is their favourite album. I'm going to take it to them at the end of the week, so I figured I'd show it now before, while I've got it, before I kind of pass her on. I won't have her anymore. And yeah, Young Americans Modern Day reissue, picked up same time as I picked up the Al Green record. Still got the shrink, still sealed, but it's got a little tear here, and I've noticed that the cover's like textured, but my cover, which is an original here, is untextured. I'm not sure if the American one was like this. Is this a gatefold as well? I don't think it is a gatefold. No. So is this reissue taking inspiration from the American one? Certainly not necessarily taking it from the UK original, but anyway, just a little observation I made. So yeah, not my favourite, quite honestly, Bowie record from the 70s, but still a really good one. You know, Bowie didn't do anything bad, of course, in the 70s. He was kind of, the best, really. You know, he's the highest, one of the highest artists of the decade. So yeah, still a really good album, just not one of my favourites. Well, now I've got 2 copies, at least for a few more days anyway. So yeah, that'll do for this video. Getting there with the Prince collection. I'll be continuing with that. I'm really enjoying listening to Prince. I'm kind of growing as the day goes by as a Prince fan. It's kind of amazing the amount of stuff that's out there that kind of, it's still drawing me in. And I'm kind of getting to the point now where I'm coming to the end, really. I'm finishing off really with his later albums. His later albums that were released in his lifetime. And yeah, I'm still having a great time getting more and more into Prince's stuff. I hope to pick up more Paul McCartney albums soon to get closer to at least somewhat closer to a complete solo Beatles collection, as well as George Harrison. So I've got some George Harrison albums I need to get my hands on, but we're kind of getting there with it, really. And it's just a matter of time, I guess, before I make some sort of another ranking video of some kind, so I can displease people who think that I put a record too low or a record too high or a record too much in the middle and that kind of thing. Well, anyway, that'll be for the future, I suppose. So thanks for watching, everyone, and goodbye.